Thank you, gorgeous. Hello, my name is Paul. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, GNRBA. Thanks everyone for coming. Some of you guys might have seen this, but it's kind of a fun one. It's just hopefully loosen things up so you get a bit pissed and a bit heavy on the auction. This is kind of like a background. It's a bit of background on me, really. When I was in vet school, I used to write articles called Cow Sense, where I just kind of jibber-jabbered about different philosophies in regard to running cattle. This is where my family homesteaded out in Colorado in 1909 when they took it away from the Indians. And they gave it out, and literally, they gave us 160 acres at a throw, and people came from over east and thought, shit, that's a lot of dirt. And they got out there and realized that it's about 30 acres to the cows. So it's pretty hard to make a living on 160 acres.
Can you guys hear me if I holler?
Yeah.
I've got a loud voice, got a big mouth, hummingbird ass. So yeah, my family homesteaded here around the turn of the century like everybody else. Mostly Norwegians, Berkman's mountain man and I'm not very mountainish. But so my family homesteaded there.
Hey, we got batteries again. And my dad went to Vietnam. When he came back, we bought this here gas station in Wild Horse, which was a big town back then. It was 12 then, now it's 4. Mom and dad are still there. And we sold things to anyone that would stop. Sadly, not many people stopped, so we didn't make a lot of dough. This was me as a little tagger running around. And growing up, I worked for all the neighbors, and I kind of felt like I missed out because Dad decided to go to Vietnam instead of be a rancher. And I was like, Dad, we got to get back on the dirt. So anyway, I worked for all my neighbors and grew up around cattle people. This was my graduating class. And this was me over here. And then I was valedictorian, which is like the ducks. To get this scholarship at the University of Northern Colorado, you had to be in the top 10% of your class. And the computer said no. My mom's like, excuse me, but he was valedictorian. I said, well, but the computer says he's in the 13th percentile. 1 divided by 7. So anyway, they sorted it out. So Heather Gibbs, she kind of had the hots for me the whole time. We were together for like 12 years. You got plenty of time to kindle things up. She's 4th generation out there. Richard Hogan, 3rd generation rancher, 3rd generation rancher, 3rd generation rancher, 3rd generation rancher, 3rd generation. And this girl here, we outsourced her, so she was a teacher's daughter. So we were all trying to get with her. Like 2nd grade. Tracy Schechter, she's awesome. Still an insanely hot person and incredibly lovely. So I chased her for 12 years, got nowhere. Anyway, you did want to hear about my life. Still working?
Okay, so then, son of a gun. I don't know. Microphone. Bang! So anyway, it's a town of 12 people, and you grow up around people, and you think you know a lot of people, and I guess it's similar to your story. You went to private school, and you met a shitload of people, and I went to University of Northern Colorado Teachers College. Teachers are mostly ladies, and there were 2 girls in my class. Meenan's class. My brother's Meenan, my other brother's Minian. We had a dog named Mo. Meanie, meanie, miny, dog named Mo. No bullshit! Real story. I went to the University of Northern Colorado, and I spent the first year like this. It was crazy. But then I started meeting these sorts of dudes, and I was like, peace, I dig peace. Peace is awesome. Love, I'm trying to find it, but I was struggling. Vegetarianism, like, how do these 3 link together? And I was like, love me, don't eat me. And I was like, well, this is kind of bizarre, because I love cattle because I eat them. And then these guys, they were like really extreme. I was like, meat is good, it ain't murder. And I was just struggling to kind of work my head around this. And then this one completely backfired on me. Like, I was like, how is this supposed to work? Kind of what this talk is about is I feel that these folks, like these people, these guys are passionate. Like, it's pretty warm. They're under cellophane. That ain't much fun, is it? And they painted themselves. That's going to take a lot of washing to clean up. But they're passionate, and they really, 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 really love animals. And you know who loves animals more than these guys? You guys. What we've done is we've left these dudes in a vacuum. We've left them over here because they're over there. We're over here doing a good job, right? But these guys are left to develop their own rhetoric in an echo chamber. And what that means is they develop their own freaking crazy ideas by saying something, and then someone else within their little group says the same thing, and it starts to become plausible, it becomes believable, and it's all driven by other things. So if you go to a restaurant, you get the vegetarian surprise, and buy at a restaurant, you know the vegetarian surprise would be a freaking steak. Surprise! It's expensive. There's money to be made out of these people thinking that they're helping animals, right? So there's a hidden agenda there, but really they're passionate. And so it's pretty easy when you sit on a plane. I was talking to Rogers about this one time. I was like, I really appreciate the privileged position that I'm in. Because like, the plane, how you going? You sit down. And cross check, can we please blah blah blah, put on your rah. We're gonna do the Feedlot for show about where to put on crash into the water, all that stuff. Then I sit down next to people and, how you going? Yeah, good. Yeah, what do you do? Yeah, this what do you do? And I go, I'm a veterinarian. They go, I love animals. Anytime you tell someone that you're a veterinarian, that's the first thing they say is, I love animals. Like, well, me too, that's why I'm a veterinarian. And if they're vegetarian or vegan, they're not gonna hold back on that information. So pretty much say, I'm a veterinarian. I go, wow. I struggle to eat wheat products. And they go, why? Are you gluten intolerant? I said, no, because monoculture by definition excludes biodiversity. Have you ever walked through a paddock full of calves on grass? That's the place where all the biodiversity is. I really can't cope with monoculture. I don't even eat carrots. And they go, what? Are you serious? I'm dead serious. I've got to do my part for the planet. I got to eat more beef. If it was up to me, I'd paint my house with beef. I'd drive beef to work. I'd send beef as Christmas presents to everybody. And they go, are you serious? They go, kinda. And so then I kind of start talking to them. You know what's a lot easier to do in that situation is just sit next to somebody and say, I'm a vegan and you're the Antichrist. It's easy. You know what's easy to say? Get fucked. What does that do? Does it make them go home and go, well, goddamn it, I should reconsider my convictions about whether or not eating meat is bad? It doesn't do fuck all. So what we got to do is, and that's what this talk is about, and some of you heard it before, is about, I want to talk to you about, I came from out in the middle of nowhere. I met all these people, and I love people. I love cattle more, but I really love people too. And I was like, how can I help these people? And I remember I talked to this gal for 2 hours straight. I did not convert her. She really got angry. My wife had to walk away. And the last thing I said to her is I said, I'm just trying to divest you of the guilt that you're carrying. She goes, what fucking guilt? I'm a fucking vegan. I said, you told me that your species is destroying the planet. No, that's a lot of shit to carry. Let me help you. Come with me. I said, Monday I'm going out practicing. Come with me. I want you to meet some people. we're going to drive through past the paddock. You see those cows doing what cows want to do. Like, God sucked us off the earth. Those cows are going to do what they were doing beforehand. They're going to run out of feed and water, because we do a lot for them. But the reality is cows are fulfilling their telos, which is Greek for what you want to do for a living. Like cows, God dang it, they are just kicking ass. They're just doing exactly what they would do if we weren't here. I remember asking Temple Grandin, who's one of my teachers, you might have heard Temple Grandin, and I knew what she was going to say, because we had all these kind of like, I got to vet school, I thought all be cowboys and cowgirls. Like us, and far out. A third of my class was vegetarian, and I converted a few of them. And we're sitting there, and I knew, I was like, oh, God. I was listening, and the people were really eating up what Temple was saying. She's an amazing human being. This is my opportunity. Got to get one in for us. And I was like, Temple, excuse me, Temple, which species of animal do you think is the most ethically raised and is fulfilling its telos? And she went, you know, Temple, she's kind of, you gotta talk like this. And she's got a big flight zone. She's amazing human being. She does, seriously. Like, you try to talk to her, she backs away. And that's what makes her so good. It's helping us. And she goes, cattle, of course, are fulfilling their telos. They're doing exactly what we do, and the wild is definitely the most ethical protein source in the world. I was like, fuck yeah! Woo-hoo! Everybody eat meat! So what I'm trying to do here is, because you sit down next to people, and people's like, but. There's always a but. And you can say, well, this is why it's good what we're doing. But. And so instead of saying, get fucked, I want to share some of my shit with you. So when I was in uni, I had this great opportunity. They wanted somebody to go back to eastern Colorado and count these guys, rattlesnakes, which are kind of like the tiger snake stuff, pool snakes, frogs, turtles, field herpetologists. And these guys, I was driving around in my redneck rocket, this is me and the F-250 6.9-meter turbo diesel. But these guys are like kind of long-haired, kind of hippie sorts of dudes, lovely human beings. And they go on to properties kind of like you guys and go, hi, we're here to look for endangered animals and do a count on the species that live here. You guys would be like, get the fuck off me joint, because like, the last thing I want you to do is find something that is a little concern. And so they kind of hired me because I loved animals, I loved wildlife. I was a bone digger too, man. I love digging up the stuff. I was like, anytime I hit on the highway, I was like, yes, something got killed on the highway. I was there opening it, throwing it, figuring it out. And so they sent me in there to kind of help these guys. We got on a lot of properties, and then I wrote a grant from the Analogies Foundation, which is completely about welfare. And I wrote this proposal to measure the impact of bullfrogs, which are an introduced species in Western America, on the native ranges. And so anyway, it's all about ethics and stuff. And so I drove around in my redneck rocket with a 22, shooting them and seeing what they're eating. and I kept buckets of all these preserved frogs. And the guys at the Natural History Museum were like, "Why are they all missing their legs?" And I was like, "Well, you know, it's a lot of wasted formalin, really, preserving the legs." But yeah, I was eating them. And honestly, I went to that talk and no one would talk to me. I was like a pariah because I was dressed like I am now, and most of these folks were pretty, you know, like the sort of folks you would expect. But when I gave my talk and I explained to them why I was like working with ranchers, getting out on the land, like here's the property we're at, and just all those animals coexisting with the animals that we produce. Like you go through, I'm not eating wheat, I've got a wheat crop as well. But you go out on a wheat crop, there ain't nothing there. Our job is to eradicate everything, to grow as much of that monoculture as we can. We rip the carbon out of the soil. Who the hell is saving the planet? I'll tell you who it is. It's you guys. It's cattle people. And this really drove it home for me because we were driving around all over eastern Colorado, and wherever we get into wheat field country, there was nothing. It was a freaking ecological desert. There was nothing there. But when you got into the ranch ground, that ecosystem, which existed before we even came to the damn place with the bison and that, was still intact because the cattle had replaced that niche and that role. You know, this sort of thing, like far out, like there's a lot still going on there, isn't there? This is Australia. There's a lot going on in that paddock, and that refugia, that remnant vegetation, which has all our native marsupials, et cetera, they've got somewhere to go to get some resources. And we all know this is a scenario, right? The freaking crews are in there, and they come in here, they have a feed, and we shoot the fuck out of them. Why? Because we're providing so much feed for them that their population is bigger than it was, and we got to control it, right? But what about this guy? Is there anything living in that freaking tree? No, nothing. What about this little patch? Ain't nothing living in there because it's too small of a micro ecosystem when it's surrounded by monoculture. We do a good job. And where I come from, once you do this to grass, like the place I grew up in, it's a one-way street. It takes forever to come back. So that was part of my story, is that we're providing habitat for animals. Then people say, oh, all right, so what about these guys? So these are that's my great. That's it right there. Hey, Pappy, how you doing? That's my great. And I remember I was talking to this one gal in my class when I was still in high school, and we were talking about the overpopulation of moose and how we need to control the populations of the elk in Estes Park, and how they're wiping out the aspen, and how the population was too big, and when we get a cold season, that they're going to die, and right. She goes, why don't we use birth control? I said, why don't we just fucking shoot some of them and eat them? Why waste them? And then another person said to me, like, well, why don't we just buy up all the properties out in eastern Colorado, like my family's homestead, which is still in the family. Why don't we just buy them up and let the bison run? These guys are freaking awesome. Have you ever run into one of these? They are amazing sons of bitches. And there were 35 million of these bastards running from Alberta all the way down into Texas, just roaming up and down. And when that mob went through, when they were done, it looked like you plowed the ground. And then the grass would come back, and the antelope would follow them, kind of like the rotationally grazing cattle and sheep behind them. Now, as an act of war, the Yanks, they put out a thing for their tongues, and they started grinding up skulls for phosphorus. And the idea was, if we could take away the food from the Native Americans, it's a sad part of our history, we could then control them. And so this lady said, well, why don't we bring them back and look after them? So if we do that, we're probably going to have to vaccinate them and prank test them and look at them. These are big sons of bitches, eh? And I'm like, so if we do that, I was like, let's follow your thought experiment. Let's say I don't care about my land. You guys don't care about your station. We'll just let you take it back. We don't care. Hell, we'll give all that country back that our family's been on for the last 120 years. We'll give it back and we'll let these bison roam around. But we're going to have to control the population. There are going to be some angry ones, we better manage that. There's going to be some sick ones, we're going to have to manage that. And in about fucking 10,000 years, because when you put pressure on animals, they change. And in 10,000 years, what they're going to look like. Why start over? These things are freaking awesome. They're turning this stuff here, which we can't eat. I mean, sometimes I want it. Like, we can all get a hell yes this. When you got a paddock like this, you're looking for the balsamic vinegar, aren't you? Like, oh man, you probably could live off a little bit of this stuff here. But like, these guys are just so freaking amazing. What they do is they take this is cellulose, and when it browns off, we know there's shitloads of energy into it, because you put a match to it, what does it do? It burns. Why is it burning? Because there's tons of energy there. And what it is, the bugs inside those little fellas are able to break those cellulose bonds, the celluloid bonds, and turn them into short-chain volatile fatty acids that these massive rumens, which are now pouching in their esophagus that has evolved over the years, it's freaking big, can absorb all that energy, take it to the liver, turn it into something useful, which is meat, and more babies. It's just amazing. It's so freaking cool. And there's a little bit of a spill of methane there, right? It's just so awesome. And then people say, well, but what if we could grow carrots here instead of these cows? Is that a concern? Do we have hungry people? We don't have a problem with food production. We have a problem with food distribution, because we're all a bunch of selfish pricks. We produce way more food than the world needs. Here's a classic example. So in the U.S., and U.S. farmers do get a lot of subsidies. True. But this one is the best subsidy going for Australians. This is the CRP program. So what they did is the government came in and said, we're producing way too much grain, and what's doing is it's dropping the price of grain through the floor. So what we're going to do is we're going to pay guys money to grow nothing on their ground. They plant it back to grass. They're not allowed to graze it, which totally sucks. And they put it in the CRP. And the hunter lobby loves it, and the greedy guys love it, and everyone thinks it's pretty cool. And it's a shitload of dirt. So there's 40, at the peak, there's about 35 million acres of farm ground that was put back into grass and not grazed. Now, any of you guys croppers in the room? 35 million acres, how many tons is that? That's almost as much grain as all of Australia produces in a year. So this subsidy is awesome for everybody that's selling grain, because we've taken 35 million acres of grain, 35 million acres of grain production off the world's debt. But the point is, we're doing nothing with this ground except that pheasants and coyotes and shit run around with it, because there's not enough people to eat all of our grain. That's why we had to set this country aside in order to reduce the amount of produce we were producing, because to keep the price up. It's crazy. So what else do we do with cows? Well, cows turn shit that we can't eat into grass, or into something useful. The most energy-dense protein source in the world is beef. It's just freaking amazing. So here's where the cows live in America. It's pretty rad, eh? There's a remarkable number down in Florida, a lot in Texas, there's a big in Texas, but that's where the cows live. And that's why this is where the feedlots live. There's feedlots. And that's because this is the feedlot I worked at when I was going through vet school. Pretty fun. Now it's a feedlot after I graduated, and they went broke because they had bad veterinary advice. That's what we moved to Australia. But this is where the corn's produced. And we're turning corn. Like, corn is, oh man, it is rocket fuel for cows. It is freaking amazing. Huge density. We can make silage. We can make steam flake corn. It's in everything in American produce. Like, if you ever go to America and drink any of our soft drinks, they're a lot sweeter, and it's that high fructose corn syrup. We're a corn-driven economy over there. And we're producing so much of it, and that's where it's going, is into those feedlots. And so, again, we're turning stuff that humans can't eat into something energy dense. It's an amazingly beautiful thing. We shouldn't apologize for it. We're not taking the food out of a human's mouth when we feed an animal. And they talk about how much water we're wasting. How much of a crock is that? Well, you got to give a cow 3,000 liters to produce a kilogram of beef. What happens to that water? Well, they drink it, and I wait for it. You know what happens to it? It doesn't evaporate. They piss it on the ground, and it goes back into the soil. But we haven't actually done anything with that water. It's just recirculating it. But anyways, they got their ways and means of making you buy that vegan produce. Okay, so here's kind of a fun one. Let's talk about something fun. So what's your favorite animal? Other than cows. Who says sea turtles? Anyone love sea turtles? Thank you, Tori, you're awesome. All right, so sea turtles. How many, so it's kind of a fun analogy when we talk about, because people say, well, I don't like taking a life. I go, okay, so you don't eat beef because you don't want to take a life. Yes, I don't want to take a life. Now, superficially, that makes sense, doesn't it? You got to kill something to eat it. But let's step back another step from that. What do you got to do in order to kill something to freaking eat it? Well, you got to let it be born, right? An animal the only reason an animal that's eaten for our benefit is The only reason it ever had a chance to live is because we produced it. So like, for instance, if you name a species of animal, especially one like, say, the Galapagos finches that are just in the Galapagos and they're living in the trees, there's only so many trees, there's only so much room for so many finches, right? And maybe that carrying capacity of the island is, say, 1 billion finches. And those 1 million finches, that's all that ground can hold. And so those 1 million finches produce enough babies to replace themselves to keep that in balance. Now it's the same with the mother cows, is a cow will replace herself in her life. In her lifetime, she will have one female that's retained to replace her, and then she'll exit the system, and we'll do something useful with her, and her daughter will come in, and the cycle continues, one in, one out, one in, one out. It's a beautiful thing. But the size of that paddock is dictated by the number of people that eat beef. So if you love cows, you got to eat beef to keep more cows working. So the population of cows that exists in the world is dictated by the number of people that eat beef. So another analogy for that is like, you know, Whales Beach run up on the beach, and it's really sad. Everyone gets really upset and spend a lot of time trying to put them back in the ocean. And I say to them, we can fix that. We can stop whales from beaching. How are we going to do that? It's really hard. Scientists cannot figure out why these whales are beaching. I said, no, we don't have to figure out why they beach. We'll just get the Japanese to kill them all. And then there won't be any more whales beach. There'll be no more whale suffering. People go, fuck, can't do that. And I go, well, that's exactly what you're trying to tell me you're doing by not eating beef. If you decide you don't eat beef, and 3 other people decide not to eat beef with you, that's one cow that's out there producing a calf every year who's removed from the planet. She's like, we don't have room for you. We don't have enough consumers to keep you working. You're gone. You got to eat beef to produce life, so that an animal can sacrifice its life for our benefit. I want to make a shirt that says, make life, eat beef. I want to make another one that says, wheat is murder. And I do grow wheat, but we don't think wheat is murder. Monoculture. So going along with that analogy, like talking about you got your cow herd, it's 1 in, 1 out. These guys lay about 70 eggs a clutch, 3 clutches a year, that's 210 eggs a year. They don't start reproducing until they're 30. They reproduce until they're 100, so that's 70 times 210. Help me with the math, that's about 14,000 eggs. And we've all seen this source. They're freaking cute as hell. Here they are, doing their thing. How many of these come back onto the beach and lay an egg? 1,000 come back and lay their egg.
1 in 1,000.
1 in 1,000. There's 14,000 eggs. So you're saying one out of so there's 14 of her progeny that come back and lay eggs? Okay, so that's a reasonable assumption. Let's pretend it was 2 later on. We'll come back to that. So let me talk about rabbits. We're going to switch gears. Who likes rabbits? That's why they built the Great Wall. So rabbits have a gestation length of only 30 days. And these sons of bitches literally can pop out 6 little baby rabbits, and that male rabbit, that's what they say, you know, like a rabbit, they can immediately get back in there and get another litter coming. Another litter of 6. So on average they produce 3 females. Hypothetically they can have 12 litters a year. They reach puberty at 6 months of age. So hypothetically, let's start with little Roger Rabbit here. And let's say we've got a backyard and we decided we're going to become rabbit men. And women. We are going to grow as many rabbits as we can. And I don't know where we got the semen from. We're useless anyway. If any of us blokes in the room think we're important, we're not. We're just semen. All right. So the end of the first year, 1 mother rabbit, 3 female babies. That was 12 months. So she's got 36 baby rabbits, female baby rabbits she can produce in her life in that first year. So that's 37 rabbits in your backyard. And maybe they're getting tight on feet. Maybe they're not. Maybe it's a really big yard, right? Okay. So those 37 rabbits in the next year, if they all had 3 female babies and from 12 months, that's 1,332 new baby rabbits plus the original rabbits. Now we're up to 1,369. Maybe it's a really big paddock. Right? What about the 3rd year? Well, now we're up to about 50,000 babies. So if all the females survive to produce babies, that's what would happen in 3 years. 4 years, 1.8 million rabbits. This is what happened in Australia when they first brought the bastards over before we got the Lacey mix-up happening. 69 million rabbits. As you can see, it's a shit show, isn't it? Why doesn't this happen? Here's a really cool concept about biology of all animals in nature. Fecundity, which is how many offspring you have, is inversely proportional to survivability. So the more animals that have more offspring, it's because very few of them survive. So like a crawfish, for instance, a lobster who can have a million little purulents, and they drift around and drift about. But only one of them is actually going to come back to replace its mother. Just like you said, 14, but everything in balance is one in, one out. One in, one out. That's how the whole system works. So these guys here with their 14,000 eggs, only one female is going to drag herself onto the beach, on average. Of all the females at every sea turtle that ever lays eggs, on average, only one of her daughters is going to drag herself on the beach and lay eggs, on average. There might be a super sea turtle that has 3, but there's 3 other super turtles that never have anything. And so it's one in, one out. One in, one out. And so when you wrap your head around that, you think, wow, this is a freaking cruel world. Hopefully this guy's the winner. And so what happens is, like when these guys came, the one did beget 3, and the 3 beget 9, and the 9 beget 27, the 27 begot 81, and 81 begot 243, the 243 begat 7. So you get the point. But then what happened is when they ran out of feed, it took 30 to produce 1. And those 1 produced 3% of that. So the population goes up and it goes down. But when you average it out, it's 1 begets 1. When these guys go nuts, when they've got a really good season, this is on the urban fence. That's fucking mad, isn't it? So they had a really good season. There's lots of feed. The emu population went nuts. But you know what happened a year or 2 after this, right? What about these guys? 1 in, 1 out. What differs with us, and I was talking to a fellow this morning who couldn't make it, and they're weaning calves down at 2 to 3 weeks because there's no feed. And I said, look, in animal husbandry, we have to do the best that we can. And I said, it's not a reflection on you if you don't have the ability to look after every animal. You have to do the best that you can. You don't have to look after every animal. You've got to do the best that you can. It's tough times right now. But the difference with us as in animal husbandry is when we can, when they're hungry, we give them something to eat. When they got nothing to drink, we go to incredible lengths to make sure they got something to drink. We control that population versus these guys, they boom and then they bust, right? And so when you look at that population of animals in the wild, those that are in excess of what we're required to replace that female, they don't die well. They die from starvation, predation, all sorts of horrific deaths. What happens with our excess animals is they're harvested for the benefit of humankind. And we shouldn't apologize for that. Like if I was going to come back as an animal, I want to come back as a cow. I don't want to come back as as an emu. You saw what can happen to them. And so we do everything we can, like we Greg test them, like here's me just doing some shizzy. Wow, that is really good audio. So we find the empties and they leave. Some females come in, we pull out all the empty, all the ladies, we pull out all the angries, we pull out all the bad Okay, so then people say, but the world is growing and we got more mouths to feed. This is my uncle, he's Mormon. and this links to a site which I'll just flip to a slide rather than open it up for you. So this is our world in data. Now this is pretty exciting stuff. So people are worried about the world, and if we talk about China, we think about things linearly because it's easy. We go, well, we know China was like 500 million people, and then it got to 750 million, now it's on 1 billion, and we're thinking, shit, they're just going to keep on growing. It's actually not the truth. The reproductive rate of humans in the world, if you look back in the 50s and 60s, the green one there is China. They're having, on average, 6 or 7 children. The Yanks, which are the orange one, they're having, in the 50s, they're having 3 or 4 children on average. But what's happening is, globally, and it's totally linked to education of women. As women become more educated, and as they become more integrated into the working society, our reproductive rate globally is dropping. So if you look at that one, the world is the green one, and we're down to about 2.5. And when we get to 2.3, because of infant mortality and stuff, we're neutral. We're not growing anymore as a population of organisms on the planet. If we talk about China, China was up around 7 and 8 kids to the average Chinese person. Then they did the one-child policy here. Then they went, holy shit, we're running out of people. So they said, you can have as many kids as you want, but it became cultural. In China, the average Chinese female is having 1.2 children. So you think about that, like, you and your wife only have 1.2, the population is declining. Globally, our population is dropping. We are maxing out as a species. So the food that we produce, we might as well eat fucking steak. Right? We don't have to worry so much. Before, as the population was exploding, like how the hell are we going to feed the planet? But the reality is, the number of us is dropping. The carrying capacity in humans is dropping. You with me? So then people say, oh, but I don't want an animal to, have to live a life of misery. And I say, well, come out in the paddock and look at the animals in the paddock with me. So here's an analogy. I want to give you an analogy, because I love analogies. This fellow was given a chicken. He was sailing around the world and he visited an island, and the islanders gave him a chicken. And he's like, cool, let's pretend he's vegan, just for fun. And so he had his chicken, and his chicken used his toilet on the boat. It was really rad. And he shared food with his chicken, and it was really good. Let's pretend he's vegan. They're just like what was the movie with the tramp and what was it called? Lady and the Tramp. Yeah, there you go. So anyway, let's say, oh my God, what's he gonna do now? Because he's vegan. He's already living. Son of a bitch, what are we gonna do with that? Well, maybe he'll become semi-vegan and he'll eat the egg. Maybe. So I want to just kind of come to a further analogy here for you. Let's say that you're on a big ship, and it's loaded with chickens and vegetable seeds. And the ship goes down, it sinks, and you get in the life raft. And here you are, you've saved some chickens and you've got some seeds, various seeds of different types. And you wash up on Chicken Island. It's actually called Chicken Island. It's in Bali. The shit you can find on Google is awesome. You can find some crazy shit on Google. So you land on Chicken Island. As you can see, there is not much arable land on Chicken Island. So you land on the island and you're like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? You got your chickens and you got your seeds, and it turns out you got just enough dirt that you can grow enough vegetables, and there's some legumes there, so enough protein, there's just enough dirt that you can survive by growing vegetables, and you can survive. But you don't have enough to feed the chicken. So like, what do? And then, but what you could do is you can, half this stuff you could grow for you to eat, the other half you could grow and feed the chickens. And the chickens are going to give you some eggs, so that's pretty cool. And the problem is those chickens, as they get older, they're going to become, they become senescent. They don't produce eggs anymore. So you better keep a rooter to shag some of your chickens so that they can produce some little chicks. So you can get some females so that you get some new eggs as these girls become senescent. So you got this quandary, like, do I just grow veggies? Or do I grow half veggies and feed the chooks? And they'll feed the chooks, so I'm going to eat their eggs. Bit of a dilemma. And, but they're going to stop laying eggs, and that's going to suck. So I'm going to have to keep a rooter, so I keep new chickens. And if I do that, I'm going to have some little males. And man, it's a small, there's not much arable. So you're going to have to eat a couple of those roosters in order to make it work. Right? And those hens that become senescent, they're going to have to eat them too, otherwise you're going to starve to death. So you got the option. Are you going to just grow veggies and drown all the chickens? Or are you going to live with the chickens in harmony, where the chickens will produce progeny, one chicken in, one chicken out, one chicken in, one chicken out, just like all the wild animals that live on that island. Just like those wild animals. Except the surplus animals, you're going to, well, they're not looking, you're going to wring their neck. Quick, make it quick. You're not going to let them starve and get chewed up by things and struggle around with missing one wing and things like that until they die. So then I ask you, like, after you make this tough decision, why don't you ask yourself what the fucking chicken wants? And I'll tell you what your cows want. Your cows want to live, and they want to produce calves. And those calves, some of them are going to live and replace those mothers. Am I right? Far out. I'd much rather be a cow. Okay, so then people, but this is the one that really sticks, the methane story. So they're like, we got you, we finally got you. This methane thing is going to bring an end to freaking livestock. Well, this is what's killing our planet. At least that's the evidence out there. Is carbon dioxide is accumulating. So carbon is being brought in from outside of where we are, being brought into the system, and the carbon dioxide levels are going up. Now, the thing about methane that they really hate about it is methane is a lot more thermogenic than carbon dioxide. So CH4 is about 160 times more thermogenic than carbon dioxide. So they love hanging shit on us about it. If you look in the air, what's going on? Well, you got mostly nitrogen, oxygen, and then there's this little sliver there, and within that is your carbon dioxide, and there's your methane there. And this stuff actually is a pretty heavy hitter. So they're worried about it. So what can you do to reduce climate change? So they talk about your things, light bulbs, get electric car, become vegetarian, have fewer kids, rah. And so this is all big stuff that they're talking about. And it's starting to stick. But kind of what they're not really talking about enough is that within agriculture, we're producing methane, yes. But the thing about methane is that methane degrades. It's not a stock gas. Carbon dioxide, you produce carbon dioxide now. If we pull petrochemical out of the ground, burn it through our pickups, put it into the atmosphere, that carbon dioxide's there, and it'll stay there for a really long time. And it's accumulating. And this is relatively undeniable. But they're really trying to give it to us about this methane thing. When the thing about methane is it's produced from a lot of different sources. And the methane that was produced 12 years ago is now gone. So the methane we produce today, yes, that's a concern because it is contributing to global warming if you're going down that track. But 12 years later, it'll be gone. So when you think of it from an accounting perspective, if you're a producer, you got to say to yourself, well, I was here 12 years ago producing methane. And now I'm here producing methane, and you want to tax me for it. But what about the methane from 12 years ago that's now disappearing? And I'll follow this up a little bit more with you in a second. So here's some stuff from NASA. And this is where the methane in the world comes from. So you got, landfills. Anytime you run a compost bin, et cetera, coal mining, producing natural gas. Rice paddies are more than ruminants. Isn't that wild? How come they're not attacking them? Well, I think there's a real agenda around trying to get people to stop eating meat. And I think because a lot of people have been trying for a long time to try to vilify what we're doing for a living, I think it's been kind of an easy kick. And I think we're a little bit disorganized, and I'll cover that a little bit further. We need to become a bit more organized in being a bit more defensive of what we're doing. So this is the anthropogenic methane emissions. As you can see, like rice is a big item, and so is landfills. But a lot of the methane in the world right now is from fracking. And so here's what I kind of think is going on, is the reason why we're currently getting attacked. I want you to watch this video on YouTube real quick. Maybe you've seen this before. But just watch this and see if you can kind of help me do some counting. Gotta go through an advert. Sorry, guys.
Sometimes. Will I be there? This is a test of selective attention. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball.
This ain't gonna work. Sorry, you guys. You missed out. You were watching it before. I'm kind of addicted. Okay. Dynamite. So, sorry that doesn't show up in there. But essentially what happens is there's a bunch of guys passing around the ball, and a monkey walks through the middle of the street. And when you're focused on the ball getting bounced around, you don't really pay attention to what other shit's going on. And I think that's it. Like we're just kind of, we're all independent, we're all kind of doing our thing, and the guys that are destroying our planet we'll come to in a minute. So like we're part of a carbon neutral cycle. Carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is going into the grass. Our cows are eating the grass. They're extracting as much energy from the grass as they can. They are producing some methane when they break that cellulitic bond that we talked about before. It's true. But within 10 years later, that carbon dioxide is back. And we're getting charged at this end, but we're not getting credited for the return to carbon dioxide. Meanwhile, these guys are taking sequestered carbon from the ground and putting it into the atmosphere. Now, these guys have a lot of money and they're very organized. We, on the other hand, don't have as much money and we're less organized. We've got to really, I think, get our story right. There's a guy named Frank Mittenharder that's really good to listen to. This is my son, Louis. We were in Denmark, where my wife's from, and Denmark's kind of like the next Margaret River. And there's this freezer case at the end of the deal, and I found this. I was like, holy shit, there's that Beyond Meat burger. And I'm looking at it, and Louis going, what the hell are you looking at? And they had to, you can see it on space. And man, this is 2 quarter-pound patties. So that's 1/4 of a kilo. It's packed in this cardboard with cellophane. You know where this shit was made? In California, put on an airplane and flown into Denmark so someone can eat it and feel good about what they're doing. Holy crap, this is insane. How about this guy? So he's a vegan. Sir Richard Branson, he got an order from the Queen. I want to kick him in the nuts. This is the same guy that's doing this shit. He's taking money from rich people to put nitric oxide and everything else in the atmosphere so they can look down upon us. What the hell is wrong with this planet? Like, how the hell is being vegan gonna save the planet? How about this freaking guy? Go vegan. It's the only way to truly save our planet today. It can be done so quickly. All you have to do is put your mind to it. This ass fuck. Literally drives the car around in circles for our entertainment. Lewis Hamilton. Somebody needs to talk to this guy. What the hell is going on? This is madness. Okay, so let's put it another way. You take some grass and you feed it to a cow, she's going to produce some methane. You take that same bit of grass that it would have eaten, put it in a digestive chamber in an anaerobic environment like a swamp, and it produces 11 cubic meters of methane versus half cubic meter. This is what I said. I was at a meeting over in Brisbane, and they got one of the guys from Canberra to come talk to us about it. And I pulled him up and I said, please tell me that someone up there in Canberra is doing the maths. If my cow doesn't eat that grass, what do you think happens to that grass? Doesn't turn into unicorn farts. It degrades. It degrades into two things, carbon dioxide or methane. If it's aerobic, it's carbon dioxide. If it's anaerobic, it's methane. We aren't doing anything different other than we're just speeding the process up and harvesting some of that energy to put into this stuff, and this stuff, and some of this stuff. We're saving the planet, dang it. There's where the cows live in the world. Where are most of the world's cows? You can see it right on there. Holy shit, do these guys got some cows. In India. Wow. They are way punching above their weight. However, they don't live short lives. They live long, stunted lives. And the more methane you produce is based upon, like if animals and feedlots don't produce much methane because that digestive material they eat is far more digestible, it goes through them quicker and there's less spill of methane. These guys are eating poor quality roughage, they're generating a lot more methane. So this is an analogy that I want to show you because we're going back to rice. So this is where rice is produced. Now we produce rice here. But most of the world's rice is up in Asia. And you've seen the way, everyone's seen this sort of stuff, this is the way they grow it in Asia. So what happens, why does rice produce so much methane? Well, because rice, it's got a flag leaf, and as it grows, that flag leaf falls down into the water where it degrades anaerobically, and that's why it produces shitloads of methane. We don't grow rice that way in Australia because what's expensive in Australia? Water, right? We cannot afford to grow rice this way. So if we could show these guys better ways to grow rice, we could produce the world's amount of methane. That's cool. And the methane from 12 years ago, if we can improve the way they've done stuff, the methane from 12 years ago, they should get a credit for that. We're going to make them grow better. They should get a credit. They should not be taxed for the methane they produce because the methane they produced 12 years ago is leaving, and they're doing a better job now. There should be a net credit, or just like an accountant does. Dollars in, dollars out. No one's giving us the credit for the methane leaving the system. They're just trying to tax us for the stuff going in. Now let's talk about cows. This is freaking rad. Seriously rad. Back in the U.S. in 1944, there were 25 million freaking dairy cows. Now there's only 10 million dairy cows. But guess what's happened in the meantime? Our milk production's gone up. How the hell does that work? Well, because we're doing a better job. Better genetics, better feed, better health. We got Benny Fletcher giving us the right stuff. We're doing YouTube. Sorry. So we're doing such a good job. We've got this ability to extract more from these animals, to make them more efficient. And so when you look at it that way, let's pretend this is 12 years. The methane we produce here is greater per liter of milk than the methane we produce here. So we should be getting credits for what we're doing, not penalized for what we're producing now. We should be credited because we're making progress. This is where we can save the planet. We are in the driver's seat. We can do things better. It's the same with cattle. So this is the U.S. cattle industry. How many head? So 140 million head at the peak there. And here's the tons of beef produced. So that's beef production. That's the inventory. So the American cattle herd is going down. It's at the lowest it's been in 40 years right now, which is a real opportunity for us. They're going to probably exit the export market. They're going to start buying some of our leaner cuts to blend in with theirs to produce mince, because they eat a lot of mince. It's going to benefit us in 2 years' time. The cattle market's going to be red hot, I believe, I hope, we pray. But so the population of cows is half what it was, but we're producing almost twice as much meat. How cool is that? So again, the methane we produce per kilogram of beef here compared to the kilogram of beef here is far better. So we should be credited for what we're doing. We are doing good stuff. And it's the same in Australia. Here's what our herd's doing. And our herd's quite big right now. Or put more animals on feed. And then lastly, where is some of the waste of food production? It's right here. Please stop throwing food away, people, because food that you throw away degrades generally anaerobically, which produces methane. So the Yanks and the Aussies are two of the worst countries in the world for throwing food away. Did you guys clean your plates? Oh, then I'm gonna come kick your ass. So anyway, I'm a cow hugger, you're a cow hugger, these guys are cow huggers. Cow huggers. I mean, shit, how in the hell can we be considered as that we're destroying the planet? We're providing habitat for stuff. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, but that's kind of the point of this. You do meet someone who says that we're the devil, like, have a conversation with them. Ask them why they think we're the devil, and hit all those points up one at a time. Just intelligent discourse with them. You're more likely to convert them than just tell them to get fucked. It is fun to say, there's my little dude. And then I want to finish with this one. So, the Super Bowl ads are hellishly expensive. And Dodge Ram, I've got a Dodge Ram because I've got a very small dick. But you have to. Anyway, they ran an advert, and in that advert, which you'll see, I want you to notice that they don't talk about the horsepower, they don't talk about the carrying capacity, they don't talk about the 6.7 liter Cummins, they don't talk about the 68 RFE transmission, the Dana 80 rear, the Dana 70 front. You get the point. Just watch this, and I'll explain why I think they ran this advert. It should open up here in a second. And if you don't cry, you don't really love it. Oh, it's not going to show because this doesn't freaking work. God dang.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at the meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. I need somebody with arms strong enough to wrestle a calf and yet gentle enough to deliver his own grandchild. Somebody to call hogs, tame cantankerous machinery, come home hungry, have to wait lunch until his wife's done feeding visiting ladies, then tell the ladies to be sure and come back real soon, and mean it. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die, and dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shake an axe handle, grow a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, who can make harness out of hay, wire, feed sacks, and shoe scraps, who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, and then painting from tractor back, put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God had to have somebody willing to ride the ruts at double speed to get the hay in ahead of the rain clouds and yet stop in midfield and race to help when he sees the first smoke from a neighbor's place. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to eat lambs and wean pigs and tend to paint cone bullets who will stop his mower for an hour to splint the broken leg of a meadowlark. So God made a farmer. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and not cut corners. Somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and break and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk and replenish the self-feeder and finish a hard week's work with a 5-mile drive to church. Somebody who'd bail a family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing, who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when his son says that he wants to spend his life doing what Dad does. So God made a farmer.
Dodge Ram. Yeah, sorry, I get it. I carry all commercials. But yeah, so like far out, and daughters and mothers as well. But like, why did they do that ad? Because people still associate farmers, pastoralists, and ranchers with the things that they want people to think about Dodge, which is which is strength, dependability, and honesty. So even though we cop a lot of shit, they still love us. And you should continue to love yourself as well. So there's Gandhi, and I can't agree more with Gandhi. And yeah, that's the end of that. Yeah. Full effort in there.
worse on the rangelands than feedlots, or?
Well, there's more methane in deforestation from an animal on grass than there is from an animal on a feedlot. But in the modeling, they're saying that a pastoral animal has a larger methane footprint or carbon footprint than in the feedlot. But I disagree with that, because again, the carbon the methane that your animals are producing, or on a rangeland situation, if that grass isn't consumed by the animal, it's going to get consumed by termites who produce methane, or it's going to fall on the ground, or it's going to be standing and get bushfires going to go through it. It's still all carbon neutral. The difference of agri, and I crop as well. I know where most of my diesel expenses come from, and it's not from shipping cattle to the feedlot or shipping cattle to market. It's from we use a lot of oil for all our fertilizers. The nitric oxide side of things is getting pretty hectic. I think, and all of that goes into the feedlot. I'm not anti-feedlot. I'm not anti-cropping, but I think that we are being targeted because we're not able to defend ourselves. Would you agree with that? Yeah. But as far as what they eructate, yeah, the animals in the feedlot eructate less methane because we turn them into a monogastric. So what happens is they're eating grains. The rumen is it's just bypassing the rumen and goes straight through the.
If they don't get born in a feedlot,
No, but my point is the feed that's delivered to them, I think, comes at a cost. So there's the cost of production, the cost of delivery, the cost, and all those costs are not factored into it. Much like the original stuff that got us in the shit was they literally hooked a thing to the tailpipe of a car and ran it, and then they put some cows in a hyperbaric chamber and measured the amount of methane produced. And someone was quoted in the 80s saying, "Cows produce more greenhouse gases than a car." And someone went, "Holy shit, this is earth shattering." And everyone jumped on the bandwagon and started giving a shit. And then someone went back and said, "Well, wait a minute. That's the exhaust out of the car, but what about the cost of getting the steel out of the ground, building the car, pulling that chemical out of the ground, distilling that fuel, putting it into?" When they do that, they go, "Oh, of course, we really screwed it up." It's like not eating beef doesn't save an animal's life, but it seems to at a superficial level. And I think it's the same with the whole the pastoral animals, like those cows in India, because they live a really long time to produce that kilogram of beef. They produce a lot of methane in the process. Yes, but again, that methane is from carbon dioxide that was put into the grass. We're not pulling it out of the ground. And I think that's what we're missing. We are inherently carbon neutral. Doggone it. Is that all right? Phew. I'm excited. I love doing what I do. I love you guys. I love cows and I love you guys. That's why I became a vet. We got auctions and stuff. We got other stuff going on. Sweet. Might have a beer.
All we got was a return email and say that he's received it. I was talking to Greg Noonan